Mr. Tsifakis, thank you very much for being a part of our program.
It's my pleasure to be with you.
How do you see the enlargement process at the moment?
If we see just a commitment of everyone who can be only very optimistic and announced 2 months ago a very ambitious investment plan worth 9 billion euro for the period 2021-2027, which will finance several important activities such as transport and energy connectivity. The same goes for the government in the region, that all of them have expressed their support to the EU accession of their countries, and also the societies in the region have registered in consecutive public surveys their growing support to their country's EU accession. However, if we go then to the substance and we see the progress in the process, the results are very poor. On the one hand, the EU is not urged to see reform and progress in the accession of the countries of the region, and at the same moment, most Western Balkan leaders are much more interested in a procedural compliance with EU norms as opposed to a genuine compliance with these rules.
What danger for the region can mean a new delay for Macedonia integration?
First of all, it's a very unfortunate development. This is something that no one was expecting a year ago. The effects of blockage to North Macedonia's EU accession will be felt in the region. We should not forget that the Prespa agreement is linked to the EU accession of North Macedonia. There are several steps missing that come across the way with the advancement in North Macedonia's EU accession. Also, to be frank, Skopje accepted the Prespa agreement because it was hoping in that way that its EU accession will be unlocked. This has been its main motivation. But this is not only about the Prespa agreement. Brussels tries to negotiate, to mediate between Kosovo and Serbia, and the leverage of Brussels will be diminished in the Serbia-Kosovo talks. Any deal for the normalization of relations between Serbia and Kosovo is premised on the expectation that they will attain EU membership. If the EU membership is far away, they will have a very little incentive to reach a compromise solution. So the EU policy in the region will be that much beyond the North Macedonia's own case. And the last part that we should not forget is that the last 2-3 years we see in North Macedonia an effort to exit from this authoritarian cycle. This is something we have not noticed throughout the region. And if the EU fails to acknowledge this change of government and this change of political reforms during the last years, this would be a very negative message for the rest of the region.
We hear different voices questioning the principle of consensus. Is this system of voting still sustainable?
Well, every matter is different. I mean, there are questions such as the single market or the monetary union, the EMU, where we have got away with this necessity for reaching decisions by consensus. The idea is that vetoes will be diminished, but this can only go along a way where we talk towards a closer political integration. At the present, and for the foreseeable future, veto will be part of the EU enlargement policy, and this is something that has always been the case. From the period of Charles de Gaulle till our days, EU members have always wanted to maintain the right to decide who will become part of the family, to decide with who they will share a common future or with who they will form ties of mutual solidarity. What is peculiar, though, if we go back to North Macedonia's case, is not the question that countries have this right of veto, is whether each EU member has registered early enough its preferences and its reservations so that an EU aspirant can prepare or can denounce this process in any how so that EU candidates know what they are waiting for them.
But in Macedonian case, the European values and European system itself is being tested.
Yes, I see what you mean. If you ask what is the connecting tissue among EU people with so different history and perspectives, such as Portugal or Latvia or Greece, this is the adherence to these common values. what brings together EU citizens and Europeans is the principles, the values mentioned in the EU treaties, which is the respect for human dignity, freedom, democracy, rule of law, and respect for human rights. It is true that these are challenged internally. There is a question of Poland's and Hungary's veto on the EU budget and the EU recovery fund because they don't want to be subjected to this rule of law clause. This is a very difficult moment that the EU should sort out itself, because otherwise it is as if it applies double standards towards EU candidates as opposed to its EU members. But it's very difficult to change a country once it is an EU member, especially when there are two countries, because it is very difficult to take this type of decisions.
How do you assess the role of Germany in the process?
I see what you mean. First of all, I cannot underscore how much the gravity of our times is without precedent. The pandemic, with its human devastation and the concurrent deep economic recession due to subsequent lockdowns, is just the top of the iceberg. This twin public health and economic crisis has overlaid several pre-existing problems that have not ceased to exist. To name a few, these are Brexit, which has not been materialized till our days, the assertiveness of Russia and Turkey in the European neighborhood, and the more or less covert participation in armed conflicts, the rising competitiveness with China, and also what we have seen during the last 4 years, the weakening of a transatlantic link with the United States due to Trump's preference for a close partnership with other allies and other leaders such as Vladimir Putin and Recep Tayyip Erdogan. So in this context, I don't know what we should have waited from Germany and what could have constituted a measure of success or a failure of its presidency. I think that at the moment, what is the top priority is to resolve the EU budget crisis. Because from the EU budget crisis, it is the stake is very high. It is how Europe will be formed in the next years and whether it will exit not only from the pandemic, also from this economic recession in the future. This is very unfortunate for North Macedonia's case because it's very serious what's happening. But in the list of priorities, and I'm not underestimating Germany's efforts. Germany is a country that supports EU enlargement to the Western Balkans. So I'm not underestimating its efforts to resolve the dispute with Bulgaria. But I'm afraid that I think that the most important issue right now is the question of the EU budget.
You've mentioned the weakening of the relations between European Union and the United States. How the results from elections can have, what kind of effect they can have in the European politics? We saw that different leaders have taken different positions towards the winner.
Yeah. Well, the first signals are very positive. It seems that we'll have Joe Biden knows the region. He has been an active vice president, so he has visited many times the region. He has expressed himself. He has come to the Balkans when he was not vice president in the 90s, and he has expressed his view on the Bosnian War, on the Kosovo War, etc. So what we are seeing so far is we have an expectation for the restoration of the transatlantic partnership. It is not coincidence that within the first days, he had phone calls with the leaders of Canada, of France and Germany. We expect a better coordination of the West. And if we speak precisely about the Balkans, we expect the restoration of a division of labor that has existed, where the EU maintains the policy initiative and the United States provide critical backup. So this is our expectations. So far, we receive good vibes. Also, Antony Blinken's nomination is a very positive signal because he's a person close to Joe Biden along these lines. So, if I may say, expect a return to normality. Although it is very difficult to say that we just erase 4 years of history and what has happened during the last 4 years.
Thank you very much for being with us tonight.